Part 1. The discovered Maya had always been the quiet one in her group of friends. At 28, she worked as a librarian in the downtown branch, spending her days organizing books and helping people find exactly what they were looking for. But when it came to her own life, especially her romantic relationships, she often felt lost. She had dated before, of course. There was Tom from college who talked about everything except feelings. Then there was Kevin, who seemed nice enough, but their conversations never went deeper than discussing the weather or weekend plans. Each relationship felt like she was playing a role, being the version of herself that seemed safe and acceptable. Maya thought this was just how relationships worked. You kept the deeper parts of yourself hidden, the thoughts that made you blush when they crossed your mind late at night. She believed that good women, respectable women, didn't think about certain things, and they definitely didn't talk about them. Everything changed when she met Alex at a coffee shop on a rainy Tuesday morning. He was sitting at the corner table, typing on his laptop with intense focus, when Maya accidentally bumped into his chair while reaching for napkins. He looked up with the warmest smile she had ever seen. "No worries at all," he said, his voice gentle but confident. "Looks like we're both trying to escape the rain." They started talking, and Maya was surprised by how easy it felt. Alex worked in marketing for a local company, but he didn't just talk about work. He asked her about her favorite books, her dreams, what made her laugh. For the first time in years, Maya felt like someone was actually interested in knowing her, not just the polite version she usually presented to the world. They met for coffee again the next week, then dinner the following Friday. Alex had this way of making conversations feel safe. He shared stories about his childhood, his fears, his hopes for the future. He talked about things that mattered to him without worrying about sounding silly or too serious. By their third month together, Maya realized she had never felt this comfortable with anyone. Alex listened to her thoughts about books with genuine interest. He remembered the small details she shared about her day. When she mentioned feeling nervous about a presentation at work, he offered to help her practice. But he also told her he believed she was stronger than she knew. One evening, they were sitting on his couch after dinner, watching the sunset through his apartment window. The conversation had grown quiet and comfortable. Alex turned to her with a thoughtful expression. "Can I tell you something?" he asked, his voice softer than usual. Maya nodded, feeling her heart beat a little faster. She had learned to trust Alex, but this felt different somehow. "I've been thinking about you a lot lately," he continued, "and not just in the ways you might expect. I mean, yes, I think about kissing you and holding you, but I also think about other things, deeper things, things I've never really talked about with anyone before." Maya felt her cheeks warm, but she didn't look away. Something in Alex's tone told her this was important, that he was trusting her with something precious. "I used to think those thoughts were something I should keep to myself," Alex said. "But being with you, feeling so close to you, it makes me want to share everything, even the thoughts that feel too personal or too intense." Maya's mind raced. She had thoughts too. Thoughts that came to her when she was alone. Thoughts that made her feel things she didn't quite understand. She had always pushed them away, told herself they weren't appropriate for someone like her. What kind of thoughts? She heard herself asking, surprised by her own courage. Alex smiled, and she could see he was nervous too. "Thoughts about us. About being close to you in ways that go beyond just holding hands. About what it might feel like to share everything with you. Not just our daily stories, but our deepest desires too." Maya felt something shift inside her chest. It wasn't shock or embarrassment like she expected. Instead, it was recognition. Alex was describing something she had felt but never had words for. "I have thoughts too," she whispered, the admission feeling both terrifying and liberating. Alex's eyes lit up with understanding and relief. "Really, really," Maya said, feeling braver with each word. "I just never thought I was allowed to have them or talk about them." That night, they didn't do anything dramatic. They just talked. Alex shared some of his thoughts, gentle ones that made Maya feel beautiful and desired rather than shocked or uncomfortable. And Maya for the first time in her life, shared some of hers too. She told him about the dreams she sometimes had, about the way certain looks from him made her feel warm, all over, about thoughts that came to her when she was reading romantic scenes in books. Each admission felt like taking off a heavy coat she didn't realize she'd been wearing. Alex listened to every word with attention and appreciation. He didn't judge her or make her feel strange for having these thoughts. Instead, he seemed grateful that she trusted him enough to share them. As Maya walked home that night, she felt different, lighter somehow. For 28 years, she had carried these thoughts alone, thinking they made her somehow wrong or inappropriate. But Alex had shown her something she never expected. These thoughts weren't shameful. They were part of being human, part of being close to someone you cared about. She realized that night that she had been living only half a life, showing only half of herself to the world. But with Alex, she could be whole. She could be Maya the librarian and Maya the woman with desires and dreams and thoughts that made her blush. Both versions could exist in the same person, and someone could love both versions equally. For the first time in her adult life, Maya fell asleep feeling completely accepted for exactly who she was. Part 2. Breaking down Walt's weeks following that first honest conversation changed everything for Maya. She found herself looking forward to her evenings with Alex in a completely new way. It wasn't just about spending time together anymore. It was about discovering parts of herself she never knew existed. At first, Maya felt nervous before each conversation. She would spend her lunch breaks at the library thinking about what she might say, wondering if she was brave enough to share another thought, another feeling she had kept hidden for so long. The old Maya would have talked herself out of it, convinced herself that these feelings were better left unspoken. But Alex had a gift for making her feel safe. He never rushed her or made her feel like she had to share more than she was comfortable with. Instead, he created space for her to grow at her own pace. When she did share something personal, he listened with his whole attention, never making her feel judged or strange. One evening, about a month after their first deep conversation, Maya surprised herself by being the one to bring up the topic. They were cooking dinner together in Alex's kitchen, something that had become their weekly tradition. As she watched him chop vegetables, she found herself thinking about how attractive he looked when he was focused on simple tasks. Alex, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He looked up from the cutting board, immediately giving her his full attention. What's on your mind? Maya felt her heart racing, but she pushed through the nervousness. I was thinking about you today at work, not just normal thoughts, deeper ones. Alex set down his knife and turned to face her completely. His eyes were warm and encouraging. Tell me about them. This was still so new for Maya. This idea that she could voice the thoughts that used to make her blush in private. But she had learned something important over the past few weeks. These conversations didn't make her feel dirty or inappropriate like she had feared. Instead, they made her feel more connected to Alex than she had ever felt to anyone. I was shelving books in the romance section, she began, her voice growing steadier as she spoke. And I started thinking about us, about how it feels when you look at me the way you're looking at me right now, like I'm the most interesting person in the world. Alex smiled, encouraging her to continue. I started imagining what it would be like if we could read each other's minds. Maya continued. If you could know all the thoughts I have about you, and I could know all of yours. Not just the sweet ones, but all of them, the ones that make me feel excited and nervous at the same time. She paused, amazed at her own boldness. 6 months ago, she would never have imagined having this conversation with anyone. But here she was, sharing her innermost thoughts with someone who made her feel beautiful for having them. Alex moved closer to her, his expression filled with appreciation and love. I think about that too, he said softly, about how amazing it would be if we could share everything without any fear or embarrassment. I think about how much closer we could become if we never had to hold back our true feelings. These conversations became a regular part of their relationship. Maya discovered that talking about her deeper feelings didn't just happen in serious moments. Sometimes they would be walking through the park and she would mention a thought that had crossed her mind. Other times, they would be watching a movie, and something on screen would inspire her to share a feeling she had been carrying. What surprised Maya most was how natural it began to feel. The woman who had once blushed at the mere mention of romance novels was now able to express complex feelings about attraction, desire, and emotional connection. She realized that these thoughts weren't separate from who she was as a person. They were part of the complete picture of Maya. Alex never made her feel like she was too much or too little. When she shared something that felt particularly vulnerable, he would thank her for trusting him. When she had days where she felt more reserved, he never pressured her to be more open than she was comfortable being. Maya began to understand that this kind of communication was actually a form of emotional intimacy she had never experienced before. It wasn't just about physical attraction, though that was certainly part of it. It was about being completely known by another person, being accepted for every thought and feeling, even the ones that felt too personal to share with anyone else. She started keeping a small journal by her bed, writing down thoughts and feelings as they came to her, not because she felt compelled to share everything with Alex, but because she was beginning to appreciate her own inner world in a way she never had before. She found that she had been carrying around beautiful, complex feelings for years without ever acknowledging them. Her friends began to notice the change in her. Maya had always been the quiet one, but now she seemed more confident, more comfortable in her own skin. When her coworker Lisa asked her what was different, Maya struggled to explain without revealing the private details of her relationship. "I think I'm just learning to be more honest about who I really am," Maya finally said, "instead of trying to be who I think I should be." At night, as she lay in bed thinking about her conversations with Alex, Maya felt grateful for something she had never expected to experience. She felt grateful for being fully known and fully loved. Not just the polite, appropriate version of herself that she had shown to previous boyfriends, but the complete Maya, with all her thoughts, feelings, and desires. She realized that she had spent most of her adult life living behind walls she had built to protect herself. But Alex had shown her that the right person wouldn't require those walls. The right person would make her feel safe enough to take them down, brick by brick, until she was standing completely open and unafraid. For the first time in her life, Maya understood what it meant to be truly intimate with another person. It wasn't just about physical closeness. It was about emotional nakedness, about being brave enough to show someone exactly who you are and trusting them to treasure what they see. Part 3. Finding her voice. 6 months into their relationship, something remarkable happened. Maya stopped being the one who only listened and responded. She became the one who started conversations. The transformation surprised her more than anyone else thought. It began on a quiet Sunday morning. Alex was making coffee in the kitchen while Maya sat at his dining table, reading a book she had picked up from the library's new arrivals section. It was a story about two people who communicated through letters, sharing their deepest thoughts and dreams across great distances. As she read, Maya found herself thinking about her own relationship with Alex. She realized that somewhere along the way, she had stopped feeling nervous about expressing her feelings. The fear that used to make her stomach flutter before sharing a personal thought had been replaced by something else entirely: excitement. "Alex," she called out, closing her book and looking toward the kitchen. "Yeah," he replied, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. "Come sit with me. I want to tell you something." There was a confidence in her voice that she barely recognized as her own. Alex must have heard it too, because he immediately brought their coffee over and sat beside her, giving her his complete attention. "I was just reading this story," Maya began, "and it made me think about us, about how we talk to each other." She paused, organizing her thoughts. "I realized something important. I'm not the same person I was when we first met." Alex smiled, but he didn't interrupt. He had learned that when Maya had something to say, it was worth hearing every word. 6 months ago, I would have kept this thought to myself," she continued. "But now I want to share everything with you, not because I feel like I have to, but because I want to, because it feels good to be completely honest with someone." Maya set down her coffee mug and turned to face him fully. I've been thinking about what it means to really trust someone. And I think trust isn't just about believing that someone won't hurt you. It's about knowing that someone will appreciate all of you, even the parts that feel too personal or too intense. She reached for his hand, her voice growing stronger with each word. I trust you with my thoughts, Alex, all of them, the ones that make me feel vulnerable, the ones that surprise me, the ones that make me feel beautiful and desired and completely alive. Alex squeezed her hand gently. I love hearing you talk like this, he said. You sound so sure of yourself. That's because I am sure, Maya replied, and she meant it. I'm sure about us. I'm sure about how I feel. And I'm sure that I don't want to hold back anymore. This new confidence began showing up in unexpected ways. At work, Maya found herself speaking up during staff meetings, sharing ideas she would have kept to herself before. When her supervisor asked for volunteers to lead a community reading program, Maya raised her hand without hesitation. What's gotten into you lately? Her coworker Rachel asked during their lunch break. You seem so different, I don't know how to describe it, more present, I guess. Maya thought about how to answer. She couldn't explain the private conversation she shared with Alex, but she could share the broader truth about what she was learning about herself. I think I'm just learning that it's okay to be fully myself, she said. I used to worry so much about what other people would think if they knew what I was really thinking or feeling. But I've realized that the right people will appreciate your honesty, and the wrong people, well, their opinions don't really matter. Her evenings with Alex became even more special. Maya discovered that she had a gift for expressing complex emotions in ways that brought them closer together. She would share thoughts about their future, about the kind of life she wanted to build with someone she loved. She talked about her dreams, both the practical ones and the ones that felt too big to speak out loud. One evening, they were walking along the riverfront after dinner. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. Maya stopped walking and turned to Alex with a look of determination. I want to tell you about a dream I had last night, she said. Tell me, Alex replied, stopping beside her. I dreamed that we were old together, Maya began. Like, really old. We were sitting on a porch somewhere, still talking the way we talk now, still sharing our thoughts and feelings like they were precious gifts we were giving each other. She paused, looking out at the water. In the dream, I realized that we had spent our whole lives being completely honest with each other, never hiding, never pretending to be someone we weren't, and because of that, we still felt excited to talk to each other after all those years. Alex moved closer to her. That sounds like a beautiful dream. It was, Maya said. But the best part was realizing that it doesn't have to stay a dream. We can choose to keep being this honest with each other. We can choose to keep growing together instead of growing apart. Maya had discovered something powerful about herself. She wasn't just capable of deep feelings and thoughts. She was capable of expressing them in ways that created deeper connection and understanding. She had found her voice, and it was stronger and more beautiful than she had ever imagined. Her transformation was evident to everyone who knew her. Maya walked taller, spoke with more confidence, and seemed to glow with an inner happiness that hadn't been there before. She had learned that being vulnerable wasn't a weakness. It was a strength that allowed her to build the kind of relationship she had always wanted, but never believed was possible. Most importantly, Maya had learned to appreciate herself. The thoughts and feelings she had once considered too personal or inappropriate were actually some of the most beautiful parts of who she was, and sharing them with someone who valued them had taught her to value them too. She was no longer the quiet librarian who hid her true self from the world. She was Maya, complete and unafraid, ready to embrace every aspect of who she was becoming. Part 4. Creative collaboration. 8 months into their relationship, Maya and Alex discovered something neither of them expected. Their deep conversations had awakened something creative in both of them. What started as sharing personal thoughts had evolved into something much more beautiful and complex. It happened on a rainy Thursday evening. They were sitting in Alex's living room, candles flickering on the coffee table, creating a warm atmosphere that made everything feel more intimate. Maya had just finished telling Alex about a daydream she'd had while organizing books at the library. "You know what's amazing about the way you tell stories," Alex said, leaning back against the couch cushions. "You paint pictures with your words. I can see everything you're describing, feel everything you're feeling." Maya felt a familiar warmth spread through her chest, even after all these months together. Alex's appreciation for her thoughts still made her feel special and valued. "I was thinking," Alex continued, "what if we try building on each other's ideas? Like, you start telling me about something you've been imagining, and I add to it, and then you add more, and we see where it goes together." The idea intrigued Maya. She had never thought of their conversations as collaborative before, but she realized that's exactly what they had become. Each time one of them shared a thought or feeling, the other would respond with understanding and often add their own perspective, creating something richer than either could have created alone. "I'd like to try that," Maya said, tucking her legs under her and facing him completely. "I actually have been thinking about something. A story, I guess you could call it. Tell me," Alex said, his eyes lighting up with interest. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the familiar excitement that came with sharing something personal with someone who truly cared. "I've been imagining this couple who meets in unusual circumstances. They're both at a point in their lives where they feel like they're pretending to be someone they're not, just to fit in with what everyone expects." She paused, organizing her thoughts. "But when they meet each other, something changes. They realize they don't have to pretend anymore. They can be completely honest about who they really are, what they really want, what they really dream about." Alex nodded, completely absorbed in her words. "That sounds like a beautiful story. What happens next?" "Well," Maya continued, her voice growing more confident, "I imagine they start having these amazing conversations where they share things they've never told anyone before. Not just surface-level stuff, but deep thoughts about love, about connection, about what it means to truly know another person." Alex smiled, and Maya could see he was already thinking of ways to add to her story. "And maybe," he said, "as they become more honest with each other, they start to discover talents and interests they never knew they had. Like, maybe one of them has always wanted to write but never felt confident enough to try." Maya's heart skipped a beat. Alex had just touched on something she had been thinking about but hadn't yet had the courage to voice over the past few months, as she had grown more comfortable expressing her thoughts and feelings. She had started to wonder if she might have other creative abilities she had never explored. Or maybe, she added, building on his idea, they inspire each other to see themselves differently. Instead of just being the quiet, reserved people they've always been, they start to see themselves as interesting, creative, passionate individuals who have something valuable to offer the world. This became their new evening ritual. Instead of just sharing their own separate thoughts and dreams, they began creating stories together. Sometimes they would imagine different scenarios for the couple in their ongoing story. Other times they would create entirely new characters and situations. Maya discovered that she had a natural talent for describing emotions and creating atmosphere, while Alex was gifted at developing plot twists and interesting dialogue. Together, they created rich, complex stories that neither could have imagined alone. "You know what I love about this?" Maya said one evening after they had spent 2 hours developing a particularly elaborate story about the travelers who meet on a train. "It's like we're getting to know each other on an even deeper level. When you add to my ideas, I learn something new about how your mind works, and when I respond to your suggestions, I surprise myself with ideas I didn't know I had." Alex reached over and took her hand. "I've been thinking the same thing. It's like we're creating this whole world together, and in doing that, we're creating a deeper version of us." Maya had never felt more intellectually and emotionally stimulated. Their conversations challenged her to think in new ways, to be more creative, to push beyond the boundaries of what she thought she was capable of. She found herself looking forward to their evening sessions with an excitement she had never experienced before. But the most surprising development was what happened during Maya's alone time. She found herself writing down ideas that came to her throughout the day. At first, it was just notes about things she wanted to share with Alex later. But gradually, it became more than that. She started writing complete scenes, developing characters, exploring emotions and situations that intrigued her. Maya, who had never considered herself a creative person, was becoming a storyteller. One evening, she showed Alex a short story she had written about a woman who discovers confidence through honest communication with someone she loves. Maya, Alex said after reading it, his voice filled with amazement. "This is incredible. You're a real writer. This isn't just good, it's beautiful and moving and completely original." Maya felt tears forming in her eyes. Not tears of sadness, but tears of recognition. She was becoming someone she had never imagined she could be. Through sharing her deepest thoughts with Alex, she had discovered abilities and passions that had been hiding inside her all along. "I never would have found this part of myself without you," she told him. "Without feeling safe enough to explore my thoughts and feelings, I never would have known I could create something like this." Their relationship had become more than just love and companionship. It had become a partnership in discovery, a collaboration in becoming the fullest versions of themselves they could possibly be. Part 5. A new understanding of love. 12 years had passed since that first nervous conversation on Alex's couch, and Maya barely recognized the woman she had become. As she sat in her favorite corner of the library during her lunch break, she found herself reflecting on the incredible journey that had brought her to this moment. The transformation hadn't happened overnight. It had been a gradual awakening, like watching the sun rise slowly over the horizon until suddenly the whole world is bright and clear. Maya had learned that personal growth wasn't about dramatic changes or sudden revelations. It was about small, daily choices to be a little braver, a little more honest, a little more authentic than the day before. She thought about the conversation she'd had with her sister. Just the weekend before, Jenny had come to visit, and they were having coffee at Maya's apartment when Jenny suddenly stopped mid-sentence and stared at her. "There's something different about you," Jenny had said, tilting her head with curiosity. "You seem so, I don't know how to describe it, content, I guess? Like you're completely comfortable in your own skin." Maya had smiled, understanding exactly what her sister meant. For the first time in her adult life, she felt like she was living as her complete, authentic self. No more hiding parts of her personality. No more pretending to be someone she thought other people would find more acceptable. "I think I've just learned to be honest," Maya had replied, "about who I am, what I want, how I feel about things. It turns out that when you stop trying to be perfect, you become much happier." Now, sitting in the library surrounded by thousands of stories, Maya realized that she and Alex had written their own story together. Not on paper, though she had certainly been doing plenty of actual writing lately, but in the way they had chosen to build their relationship on complete honesty and mutual acceptance. Their evening conversations had continued to evolve over the 2 years. What started as nervous admissions of personal thoughts had become natural, flowing discussions about everything from their deepest fears to their wildest dreams. They talked about the future they wanted to create together, the places they wanted to travel, the ways they wanted to grow as individuals and as a couple. Maya had published her first short story in a local literary magazine just 3 months earlier. The piece was about a woman who discovers her voice through love, and reading it in print had felt like a miracle. Alex had been more excited about the publication than she was, carrying copies of the magazine to show everyone he knew. "I'm so proud of you," he had said the night the magazine came out. "Not just because you're talented, which you absolutely are, but because you had the courage to share your gift with the world." That was something Maya had learned about love through her relationship with Alex. Real love wasn't just about feeling good when you were together. It was about inspiring each other to become the best versions of yourselves. It was about celebrating each other's successes. and providing support during challenging times. She remembered the night 6 months ago when she had been struggling with self-doubt about her writing. She had submitted a story to a prestigious magazine and received a rejection letter that, while polite, had left her feeling discouraged. Maybe I'm not as good at this as I thought, she had said to Alex, curled up on his couch with the rejection letter crumpled in her hand. Alex had sat beside her and gently smoothed out the letter, reading it carefully. Maya, listen to what they actually said. They said your writing shows promise and encouraged you to submit again. That's not a rejection of your talent. That's an invitation to keep growing. He had been right, of course. Maya had revised the story, made it stronger, and submitted it to another magazine where it was accepted. But more importantly, Alex had helped her see that setbacks weren't proof that she wasn't good enough. They were just part of the journey toward becoming the writer she wanted to be. This kind of support had become the foundation of their relationship. They had learned to celebrate each other's growth without feeling threatened by it. When Maya started gaining confidence in her writing and speaking up more at work, Alex didn't feel like she was leaving him behind. Instead, he felt proud to be with someone who was becoming more fully herself every day. Similarly, when Alex decided to leave his marketing job to start his own consulting business, Maya didn't worry that his new ambitions would change their relationship. She supported his dreams because she understood that helping each other grow was what love was supposed to do. Maya had started giving advice to her single friends, though she was careful not to be preachy about it. When her coworker Lisa complained about feeling lonely, Maya had shared some of what she'd learned. I used to think love was about finding someone who would accept the version of myself I was comfortable showing to the world, Maya had said. But real love is about finding someone who makes you feel safe enough to show them who you really are, including the parts you're not sure about yet. She had paused, thinking about how to explain the deeper truth she'd discovered. The right person won't just accept your authentic self. They'll help you discover parts of yourself you didn't even know existed. They'll make you braver, more creative, more confident than you ever thought you could be. Now, as Maya packed up her things to return to work, she felt overwhelmed with gratitude. Not just for Alex, though she was certainly grateful for him, but for the person she had become through their relationship. She had learned that intimacy wasn't just about physical closeness or even emotional closeness. It was about complete honesty, about being willing to be vulnerable and to accept vulnerability in return. That evening, as she and Alex sat together working on their latest collaborative story, Maya realized something profound. They had created more than just a loving relationship. They had created a safe space where the people could become their truest, most authentic selves. They had proven that love, when built on complete honesty and acceptance, could transform two individual lives into something beautiful and meaningful and lasting. Maya smiled as she wrote, knowing that their story was still being written, one honest conversation at a time.